Hey guys, this is Moogles. I'm gonna start a video series about, as you can clearly see, Dota 2. This is all kind of based around me seeing lots of people talking on the Play Dota forums about how do I move from League of Legends to Dota, how do I get into Dota, what are the heroes like. You know, people are just sometimes completely lost, so for the first part of these videos, if you're an expert or a professional or even, sort of a medium level, mid-level Dota player, then most of this stuff isn't going to really apply to you. This is just some of the basic concepts of the game and how to get like a foothold and sort of start to understand, what you're doing with Dota. Now, if you're coming from a League of Legends background, you probably don't know too much about the game modes in Dota, which is different from League of Legends to an extent. If you hit the play tab, you'll see right here, we have all pick, which you can think of this similarly to blind pick in League of Legends, except everyone picks at the same time, but you can't have the same hero on each team, and the reason for this is because you don't just pick your 5 heroes and your opponent picks 5 heroes, or your opponents rather pick 5 heroes. Everyone picks at the same time, so you can still counter pick, but say you're going into the game, and there's like some new hero you really wanted to try out. If they pick something that counters that before you pick or after, or if someone else picks it before you, you're kind of in trouble. Single draft, every hero gets a set of 3 heroes, and you'll get 1 from strength, 1 from intelligence, 1 from dexterity. I'll explain what those are in just a couple of minutes. Basically, you get to choose from those 3, and if one of your teammates has one that you'd rather play, or if you have one that they'd rather play and you're willing to trade with them, you can do that once the game starts. Captain's mode is very similar to League of Legends draft mode, except each person doesn't pick their own hero, the captain picks everything. I don't generally advise this for pug games. Do it only with like a 4 or 5 man pre-made to make sure that one of your guys is the captain, because you don't want to have some pub player that doesn't know what he's doing and then he picks a bunch of heroes that are bad or ones you don't know how to play or you're not comfortable playing. Random draft is there's a pool of 20 heroes. I don't know as much about playing random draft because I don't really do it. I'm not a huge fan. But basically you take turns selecting out of 20 random heroes. Everybody has to choose from the same 20. Least played forces you into playing your least played heroes, and it sort of forces you into learning. I do recommend this, but not as soon as you start, obviously, because, you don't really have any least played heroes because you haven't really played anything. And all random is exactly what it sounds like. Everyone plays random. Now, if you go into the Learn tab, you're going to see right here we have Strength, Agility, and Intelligence. Where these two are split, that splits Radiant and Dire. You don't really need to worry about that. It's more for lore purposes. It used to serve gameplay purposes, if I'm not mistaken, but no longer. Essentially, Strength heroes. Now, don't misconceive these for play styles, because that's not correct at all. I've heard people say that before. They're not different play styles. They're entirely different altogether, because the 3 stats in the game are Strength, Agility, and Intelligence. Strength governs, Strength heroes, they get damage, and it also governs your health. Agility is your attack speed, as well as armor, and Intelligence is going to give you a larger mana pool, as well as increasing the damage of Intelligence heroes. Now, within the 3, you also have subtypes. I mean, if you mouse over a hero like Kunkka, for example, right here, Disabler, Initiator, Carry, Durable, that's kind of gives you an idea of what each hero is like, but you shouldn't take these little tags right here for what they say. Valve kind of made some mistakes, in my opinion, here. I wouldn't necessarily consider Kunkka a disabler. That makes him sound like he's dedicated to doing that sort of thing. His only disable that he really has, aside from his ultimate, which is the boat, which is a very unreliable disable, is he has Torrent, where, this big pool of water comes up in the air and knocks people around. It's not really reliable. They shouldn't have that there. He has the ability to disable, but he shouldn't be labeled as a disabler. Essentially in Dota you have similar types to League, but there aren't tanks per se. We do have initiators in Dota, people that start the fight. You could think of this if you came from League as maybe Malphite, how he runs in, and kind of starts the fight, or a Mumu, things like that. Carries are very similar in Dota to the way they work in League. You basically farm all game and carry your team to victory at the end. We do have pushers, who are dedicated pushers, or at least that's what they're meant to be, in Dota, which is not as big in League. Also, supports in Dota play a much different role than in League. You're not sitting around in the lane just standing next to your carry doing nothing. It's kind of boring in League, in my opinion. That's why I don't play supports or League in general. Supporting in Dota is very different because it's not as passive. There aren't as many heals and, giving your allies mana and stuff. Most of that comes from items like Mechanism and Arcane Boots. I'll get into that in another video. But as far as the roles, you have gankers, carries, initiators, supports, and that's really the main ones. I mean, you have subsets of each one. But as far as that goes, you're not really looking at too much. It's not too complicated. It would be good for early level players, I think, to read through each hero's abilities and get an idea of what they're up against instead of kind of learning in game, especially some of the more common ones. I'll put a link in the description of the video to dotabuff.com. You can look at the heroes and see which ones are the most commonly played, kind of read about them. You can see different skill builds. There's lots of interesting stuff on DotaBuff. It's a good site, and it's a good utility. Anyway, that's going to be the end of part 1, just kind of going over the game modes, the different types of heroes. If you'd like to see anything specific, leave a comment or send me a message. Also, feel free to add me on Steam. The name is FOOTDIVE, or you can add me as I will show you in the chat. Mooglewoot, right there. See it? And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like to hear from me, see from me, just go ahead and, like I said, drop a comment, add me, send me a message. I will have part 2 up shortly, ideally, and thank you for watching.